Hey guys, welcome back. You're sitting in the studio today. We're putting Adam Doran under the spotlight, Rory McMillan, Jason Berard. We're excited to have you here. He's a life transformation coach, entrepreneur, real estate guru, and welcome to the studio, Adam.
Thanks so much. I'm excited to be here and talk with you guys today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We're excited as well. So let me ask you, who is Adam Doran? Who are you?
Yeah, I grew up in the middle of the U.S. in Iowa, and now I live in Kansas City, which is still in the middle of the U.S. But, I grew up to both parents did full-time jobs. My dad was a university professor. My mom was an administrative assistant, and kind of grew up the traditional American lifestyle where, your parents encourage you to go to school and get a degree and get a stable job and things will be all right. And as I began to go to school and worked on my bachelor's degree and then ended up getting into a profession of law enforcement, which I felt called into at the time, I did really enjoy that for a while, but there was a spark inside of me that at first I ignored. And then after I was about 10 years into my career, so in 2011, I just couldn't ignore that spark inside me anymore. I really took stock of where my life was at.
Yeah.
And I had enjoyed my career. I'm a guy that's driven by purpose, and I was involved in work that has purpose, I felt like, law enforcement work.
Of course.
But being a police officer, I just didn't feel like, after 10 years of that, I was where I wanted to be financially. So I in 2011, I had a vision of just wanting to do more and be more. I wanted to travel more. Financially, I wanted to earn more, and I felt that I had that potential. I had people around me that were telling me, man, you've got a businessman inside of you, and you could do so much more to impact the world.
So at what point did the visions and all the people telling you that you had a business sort of mindset inside you, at what point did that really sort of steer you towards the entrepreneurial route? How did that sort of transpire?
It was one morning while I was working late at the police department. I was on morning patrol driving through one of the nicer neighborhoods in town, and I just really wanted to get home and be done with that shift. And I saw obviously a wealthy gentleman on his putting green, artificial putting green he'd had installed at his house. And I just looked at that guy and I thought, I bet I'm smarter than that guy, but I'll bet he makes 3 times the money that I do. And it was that kind of entrepreneur's confidence that you have skills and abilities you're not using, and you're not being valued like you could be. And so I just decided to really pursue that. And as if by divine providence, on the radio comes this ad for a Get Motivated seminar that was in Kansas City that weekend. And they had a deal. If you can bring 3 people with you, then you each get in for $1. And I thought, that's my ticket, literally. So I got 3 friends, and we got the tickets, and we went. And after that seminar, we resolved we were going to start a business together in real estate. And so that's where it started, was 2011. And I had really good credit. So I went and got some high-limit credit cards and started educating myself, just taking that risk and plunging in.
Excellent.
And it was hard to pay those back. I racked quite a bill. But we learned so much. And, it took me 9 months, too. 9 months of plugging away before I even did my first real estate deal. But then the first one happened, and then boom, 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 I was doing real estate wholesaling and buying rentals. And we had a lot of fun. It was scary, but we learned a lot of things in the first couple of years. And I've now grown that business to a point where, we have regular deals that come in. Matter of fact, I've got several closings this week.
That's awesome.
It's been a process. It's a process.
And so do you have kids, or do you have family life as well, or?
So I'm divorced, and I have a little girl. She's 7, going to be 8 here real soon.
Sure. The reason I ask is because, what piece of advice would you give to someone who is in that sort of stable job and really can't see the incremental spread to take that risk? What would be your piece of advice to someone who does have that entrepreneurial spirit in them, but is sort of kind of just, working away?
So I really think there is some wisdom in starting part-time and figuring out what it is that you're interested in. For me, real estate caught my interest during that seminar, and I really didn't know what I was interested in. And since then, too, that's kind of I found out I have some other interests, so I'm interested in health and being fit, and so I've also started a home business in health. But really start to explore your interests, and if you don't know what those are, talk to the people around you, because the people around you, especially the 3 to 5 people that are closest to you, they know what you're interested in. They know what you talk about passionately. They know where you devote your time. And once you've figured those out, I would encourage people to build what I call a lifestyle business. And I'm in the business of transforming lives. That's what I've done with my own business. It's been slow. It's been a process. But I want a business that fits the lifestyle that I dream of having. Yeah. And I've been able so far to structure that and to put that together. And so, my advice to that person would be begin to explore. I wouldn't say give up your full-time job right away. I would say start part-time. And once you find those interests, start figuring out how to improve on the skills that you have and apply those skills and give people value. Give people value. If you can find out where people's pain points are, the things in their life that they don't have solutions to, or they're at least not aware of the solutions, find out what those problems and those pain points are and develop something. It can be a product, it can be a service that speaks to those needs. And once you do that, you have all the income potential in the world. It's just a matter of taking care of people's need.
Right.
So you ultimately made the decision by, seeing a putting green, seeing a certain lifestyle, big house, artificial putting green in the front yard. Like, was it your mindset was like, okay, I want to have that lifestyle, so I have to separate myself from that, 9 to 5 job to get something more entrepreneurial, more driven, where you can be in control of, your own income?
Well, that's sort of it. It's not necessarily, because I really don't have any ambitions to have like a private jet or a massive house or anything like that. But here is what I did see when I saw that gentleman that morning. He was owning his time. He was doing what he wanted to do. And it bugged me that I couldn't do the same. Because if I'd have been owning my time, I wouldn't have been where I was at. And so that's what I saw, was that this guy owned his time, obviously was where he wanted to be in life, and that was what made me angry that I didn't have that.
So real estate, you went from real estate and now you're life coach.
Yeah, so we do, and I'll always be involved in real estate to a passive degree just because it's such a smart investment. I mean, financially, it's just a smart thing to do. But yeah, where my passion lies is in direct one-to-one connections with people and helping people become the best version of them that they can be. And I'm always working on that myself too. I believe, the transformational process of developing yourself, I don't think because I'm a purpose-driven guy, I don't know that you can find a higher purpose.
Yeah. Then truly becoming an absolute elite version of who you are and who you want to be.
And the more you train yourself, the more you can pass on to someone else, right? That's what a lot of life coaches do, is they're big into personal development, they're big into training, education, reading, training themselves to be great is the more that they can pass on. How has the transition been for you, Adam, from, working at 9 to 5 job to being a true entrepreneur, real estate business, life coach? How has that transition been? And do you have any regrets?
I don't have regrets. I've had a lot of failures. I've racked up a lot of failures, but I don't regret those. The way that I've learned to approach those is, you can hold your head low and say, oh, I failed, and you can let it negatively affect you, or you can look at failures as opportunities to learn. And I've had some very expensive opportunities to learn, but I see failure as opportunity to learn. But as far as the transition's concerned, I am still in a stage of transition, because here's the thing. For 4 years now, I've been running a business. It took us 3 years before we had our first profitable year. Okay, but our first profitable year was also my first 6-figure year. And that was really cool. Wow. There might be people watching right now, that's not that impressive, but it was cool because it was a benchmark that I had pictured and envisioned, dreamed of, and I got there. And so when you see it's possible, to have a vision and to go after that and then to reach it, wow, man. So obviously now my goal is I'm after 7 figures, right? But, but as far as the transition is concerned, I'm sorry, let me get back to your question. More and more, my job gets in the way. The real estate business, I've pretty much figured out and systematized. It doesn't require much more than 10 hours a week out of me. my home business and health, and I work a lot, and it doesn't bother me to work a lot. So I'll have a 60, 70-hour work week. That doesn't bother me because remember I said I'm into a lifestyle business. So this is stuff I enjoy doing. Yes. A lot of the times it is work, but a lot of the times it's not unpleasant work. I like to do it. So I'm where, the time requirements of the real estate business and the health business are getting to where my job actually gets in the way, and my job doesn't pay me as well as the business. And so I'm having to pull myself away. And it's been a process because I got into police work because I liked it, because I felt called into it. Now I'm liking and feeling called into entrepreneurship. And so it's a process. It really is a process.
So are you still doing your policing right now on the side, and then you're doing your entrepreneurship?
I am, but I will tell you this. I used to take all sorts of extra hours, and I've stopped doing that. And they give us the choice, too, if we would work extra hours, do we get paid for that or do we get compensatory time off?
Oh, okay.
And I've opted for nothing but time off for about more than a year now.
Perfect.
And so it actually allows me, I have 3 scheduled days off a week, plus with all the comp time off that I get, I actually do spend quite a bit of time away from my job. And, that scales, those balance is tipping more and more.
Sure. Yeah. So another thing I see on the coaching aspect, a lot of publications on LinkedIn. One of the more interesting ones that I read was your 7 sort of series on how rich people think. So I want to ask you a couple questions on that because I think our viewers and our audience would really enjoy sort of your input on it. So my first question is, why can't people multitask? It says there, how rich people think. You can't multitask. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's just a scientific fact that research proves, and I have to give credit where it's due. I have a mentor, Darren Hardy, publisher of Success Magazine. This is where I learned about this. Scientifically, it's proven that we cannot, while you can sit there at a desk and have 10 things to do and try to work on all 10, and you can make some headway, you are constantly mentally switching from whatever task you're working on now to the task you're working on for the next few seconds, back to the task that you were working on. So our brains actually, they do one thing at a time. That's just the way that it is. And your brain actually, during my time in law enforcement, I was a driving instructor, and I learned that the brain, when you're driving, processes about 1,200 images a second. And as the speed goes up and there are more images flying by your eyes every second, your brain, in order to compensate, because it only has a certain capacity, your field of vision will narrow. So race car drivers, emergency drivers, anybody who drives fast has this issue of tunnel vision that they have to address because that field of vision just zooms in and zooms in and zooms in. The faster you go and the more images that your brain has to deal with. It has to shut some out because it can only do 1,200 images a second. So that's just a real life example of how your brain's capacity operating in the moment, it's just not possible to multitask. You can switch back and forth rapidly between tasks, but you can actually only focus on one at a time. And so you're actually better off and you're more productive if you focus on one task at a time to completion and then move to the next task.
And so and then another one of how rich people think is the money mountains. What are money mountains and what's the metaphor there?
Man, I feel like that's a really long answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make it really concise for purposes of our interview.
Sure.
And really there's some key things that you just have to set up in your life if you want to be secure financially speaking. So they're called the money mountains. But just to really sum those up, you really need to have cash and liquidity and savings, which at least as I use the American population as an example, most people don't have savings. They have a lot of debt, but they have no savings. So you have to have liquidity and cash and capital, which just comes from discipline of putting money away regularly. Mm-hmm. You also have to have a source of active income. And that active income ideally would be in something that you enjoy doing, that you're passionate about, and that you have a natural skill set and talent set for. So provided that you have savings, provided that you have an active source of income, at least one, you can have multiples, but then also you need passive and residual sources of income. So as an example, real estate, it's an asset that you can purchase that cash flows, but you don't have to be there doing work continuously to make that money come in. You can literally, sleep, and month to month, the rent checks come in because you have a property that's a cash flowing asset that's professionally managed for you. And so those components really kind of sum up. That doesn't cover absolutely everything I said in the article that you're referencing, but if people want to see that, they can go on my LinkedIn profile and get the whole article. But that's kind of the condensed version. Is you have to have savings, you have to have active income, and you have to have passive and residual income, which having a business sets you up to be able to do all of those things.
So multiple flows of income.
Yeah, multiple streams is a short way to say it.
Perfect. Multiple streams of income, and is that what you're building right now? Is that what you have going on in your businesses right now? Absolutely.
So when I was just a police officer and just a wage earner, I was losing ground financially. I had debt, and I didn't have anything going on the side. Now, granted, I should say this. I understand there are professions where you can earn more than enough to cover your bills, but police work is not one of those.
Yeah.
So, I was falling behind financially. And so when I started my business, all of a sudden there's this extra stream of income coming in, right? So now I'm able to keep up with my bills and a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And so as I grow that business and I am able to more than pay my bills, now I can start saving. I mean, this is fundamental stuff, but it's crazy how many people don't do it.
A lot.
They might know it, but they don't do it.
Or they think they know it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. There's knowing, and then there's by application, right?
That's right.
So, so then, saving money, and then once you have money saved, then you can start investing. And I just really, really believe that having a business, even if it's on the side, people can do business on the side because some people love their jobs. I'm in that position right now. I'm having a hard time pulling myself away. Some people love their jobs, which is great. But you should always, 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 I believe, especially in today's world, you need to know how you can add value to the lives of others and then convert that to income. If not, you're missing out on a huge, huge opportunity to live life on a higher level.
Yeah. You have to be, focused on people's solutions, right? You got to be the solution to their problems.
That's right.
Ultimately.
Everybody has that.
So for our audience, the person that's, that's working for a company right now, he makes $100,000 to $150,000 a year. When is the appropriate time for him to say, hey, you know what, now it's time I start looking into doing multiple flows of income myself? Because our audience is watching this, they're in the job market, they're either working for a company right now, and oftentimes people go through this, right? I know Jason's gone through it with me. Is when is the right time? Is it when I have $20,000 of money in my bank account? Is it when I have $50,000 of money in my bank account? Or when is the appropriate time to make that investment move?
I say right now, anytime. And you said make the investment move. Well, okay, so let's just step back one. If you're not saving, now's the time to start saving.
Yeah.
If you've been saving, now's the time to start looking. Whether you have $5,000, whether you have $10,000, $500,000, now's the time to start looking at smart investments so that your money can be working for you. That's sitting there, potentially doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I understand that people have, people that are employed have the provided traditional retirement accounts, and that's fine. But that's not really something that you're actively involved in, most likely. I mean, most people, they sock it away and forget about it. And I would encourage people that, it's funny. People will spend more time planning their vacations than they spend planning their life and their long-term financial security. And that just doesn't make sense.
Right. So if you could offer one piece of investment advice to yourself 15, 20 years ago, what would that be?
15 or 20 years ago, I would have told myself, start thinking about the life that you want right now and figure out how you're going to get there. Not how anybody else is going to help you get there or how it's just going to happen automatically. Figure out how you're going to get there. And then based on that, start learning and educating yourself. How can you be efficient with your time and your money?
So invest in yourself. That's the number one piece.
Yeah, turn time into money.
So Adam, thank you so much for joining us under the spotlight. How can people find out about you and reach out?
I would encourage people to contact me on LinkedIn. I'm on there regularly, and if you get a hold of me, I will get right back to you. And I absolutely love the one-to-one connection. So yeah, contact me on LinkedIn, Adam Doran, and should be really easy to find me.
Doran, right?
Doran. That's right.
Adam Doran, life coach, life transformation coach, real estate expert. Thank you so much for being here, Adam. It's Friday. You're sitting on the spotlight. Hashtag MagnaOnAir, MagnaSearchGroup.tv. Make sure you check us out on iTunes, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're blowing up. We're giving you powerful interviews each and every week. We love hearing from our audience. We love hearing from our community. Thank you, Adam, for being here. It was a pleasure. Absolute amazing to have you on our show today. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks
Thanks,
guys.
Adam.